Hey everybody, it's Gomedex, and welcome to another Aetherdrift Sealed Qualifier Play-In Event. This is a great event for really competitive players because it's the first in a series of events that leads you to potentially qualifying you for the next Arena Championship or Pro Tour. Those are the really high-level events where you get to play against literal professional players, the best of the best, competing for big cash prizes. So that is the main draw for these events, the main goal for a lot of players, but it's also a great opportunity for players like myself. This is what I like the best about it, to turn our play-in points into gems that we can use in other events. So for draft grinders that are just trying to turn these play-in points that we can't use anywhere else into some currency we can use on playing more drafts, this is where it's at, and that is what I'm going to be trying to do today. However well we do, we're going to be getting some amount of gems here, up to potentially 6,000 gems at 5 or more wins. So that's really the goal here, just get as many gems as possible so that I have a nice pocket of gems ready for the launch of Tarkir Dragonstorm. So without further ado, let's hop into the event and see what cards we get to play with today. All right, and our sealed deck does not look great. We have two pretty much misses in the rare slot between the dual land and the full throttle, but our blue rares are pretty good. Possession Engine, stealing your opponent's best creature, crewing itself up with it. Mindspring Merfolk to draw a million cards. Our Golgari rare, the 8-chick here, is great in the late game once you've got a pretty big graveyard. This can win the game really fast with all those insects, and Velocipede, pretty solid green stuff too. Astronaut, very nice if we can be a pretty aggressive red deck, but it's pretty hard to pull off aggro and sealed because you can't control how many good 1 and 2 mana creatures you've opened up. So this card is significantly weaker without a good curve of cheap aggressive creatures to go alongside it. So this is really pool dependent, whereas I think Possession Engine and Merfolk are going to be great no matter what, and very similar with Velocipede and Nachik, also pretty good. But blue, I think, our number one color here. Green, our second. We'll see how things look with the commons and uncommons, though. That can always change what colors we'll want to play. So let's check out the colorless spells first, see what kind of mana fixing we've got for any deck. We've got a starting column for anything, and that is it's there. The other commons are all very filler, or the other colorless spells are all very filler. Not really interested in playing those in anything. We've got a couple random duels. Blossoming Sands, Windscarred Crag, Rugged Highlands, Scoured Barrens. It's pretty decent. Yeah, high quantity of duels there. Do we have any multicolored uncommons here that push us in any direction powerfully? Not particularly. I mean, double Dune Drifter is like a tiny signal towards Orzhov, but I don't think that card's actually that powerful. I prefer Broadside Barrage for efficient removal. Ranger's Ether Hive as well can be really good with a lot of exhaust stuff, so got some decent uncommons here. None of them powerful enough to really make me want to play a specific color pair. And yeah, that's kind of it for the multicolored and colorless. So let's just check out each color individually. Try to mainly just slap our two best colors together, see if our sealed pool can do any splashing. But we really only have the one mana rock there, unless one of our main colors has a bunch of fixing in it. We'll see. So starting with white here, not bad at all. We have Ride's End and Gallant Strike for great removal. We have some decent creatures here. Surveyor, Quick Welder, Synergist. There's no big draw to the color, though. It's only 2 removal spells. There are only decent creatures here. I wouldn't say any of these are like really good. And there's certainly some filler that doesn't look like it works with what we're doing here in the color. Yeah, not super excited about whites. Moving on to blue, we have a Possession Engine in this color, as well as a Mindspring Merfolk. We've got a couple Skystreak Engineers that are pretty nice and sealed. You drop these on 2, and they're relevant on turn 5 as well with the Exhaust ability, which makes them nice plays early and late. Ether Siphon also pretty good in Sealed. Sealed tends to be a bit slower than Draft, and this format also tends to be slow enough that the Ether Siphon works perfectly fine as a card draw engine throughout the game, and if you can get max speed, it's also a win condition, which is great. So I like the Ether Siphon a lot here as well, seeing that we're playing Sealed. Yeah, I mean, there's some filler like Glitch Ghost Surveyor, Gear Seeker Serpent. I don't think we have enough artifacts out of blue alone to play that. yeah, like Optimizer, Glitch Ghost Surveyor, really filler, but can make the cut just to get us to our playables. Same with the trip ups and the Hole Drifter, in my opinion. But these are on the good end of filler. These are on the bad end of filler. There's enough power here, I think, to get me running some filler to play this color. Again, between Possession Engine, Merfolk, the Engineers being pretty good, the Siphon being pretty good. There's a lot of good action going on in the blue. What do we have in black? Zero removal, which is the biggest draw to black in this format, so that's one of the quickest ways to know whether or not you're going to want to play black. If you just have the great removal, that's a good reason to play it, and if you have none of it, it's unlikely the creatures are going to be that good enough to get you interested in the color, and this is not a sealed pool where the creatures have made me interested in our black at all. The only thing that interests me about the color is that we have an Achik in the sealed pool. That's about it. The problem with Achik, though, is it requires double black, so we have to be deep into that color. We can't really splash in a card that requires two sources of black, so not very interested in black here. Red, however, has 5,000 removal spells, and by 5,000 I mean 5. So if I want to support color that can just deal with all of our opponent's early threats, red is that color. Triple Lightning Strike, double Outpace Oblivion. That said, the creatures are somewhat mediocre here. The Bastronaut and the Thunderhead Gunner are really great, and then the Catalyzers and the Surveyor are really not. So, pretty middling creatures here. Red is definitely a support color and not a main color in the sealed pool, but I wouldn't hate the idea of a blue-red deck getting a lot of great interaction out of our red, and that also gives us access to that broadside barrage that we looked at earlier to add to that stack of great red removal. So that is kind of interesting. But last but not least, we have the color that is the strongest color in the whole format, often going to be the strongest color in your sealed pool, and I think that remains the case here. The mana curve isn't the greatest. We don't have a ton of cheap plays, but we have a lot of great stuff to do late with all of our exhaust cards between Stampeding Scurryfoot, Greenbelt Guardian, Hazard of the Dunes. These are all great late game plays because we dump more mana into them and get great value. We have double Migrating Ketrodon and Otark Mammoth that are incredible at stabilizing. We have a Tarian that's just massive. We have the Velocipede to make our boards even scarier if we get this out early. This looks like a great color. The only issue that we have with it is a lack of interaction. So while green and blue are our strongest colors, and I'm probably going to go for a green-blue deck here, we have one pretty big issue, which is that we can't really permanently kill too many of our opponent's cards. So that's a risk that we have in playing this deck. But the other thing to note about our green and our sealed pool in general is that there's no fixing either, right? There's nothing in our green that grabs another color of mana, which is pretty rough because I think the perfect way to build this, if we had a really good consistent mana base, would be to splash red for some of that removal, because red is pretty much our only color with a lot of removal. But I don't think we really have enough fixing to quite get there. Now, I could instead, because I only have two pieces of fixing towards going red, I could splash white. I get less removal spells out of splashing white, but the removal spells that I get out of splashing white can kill really big creatures instead of really small stuff, which is, I think, what I would be most concerned about in the late game by the time I'd hit a splash color. And we get more fixing by splashing for white instead of red, right? I get a single duel and a column trying to splash red. I get two white duels and a column trying to splash white. And again, white has the removal spells that work better late game and are more splashable. With Gallant Strike, even if I don't hit my white source, I'm not down a card because I can cycle it away. That's not going to be the most mana efficient play, but it helps make it a less risky splash. And Ride's End, a much better removal spell if it takes me till turn 7 or 8 to hit my my white source, than like if I'm stuck off of red till turn 7 or 8, and then it's like, oh, now I have a lightning strike now that they're casting 6/6s and stuff. So I think the white splash seems really reasonable towards adding more interaction into this deck. So I'm going to probably do that. I could also see just a pure green-blue build, but I don't think green-blue splash red is the thing to do. I think it's green-blue splash white or simply green-blue. All right, so 48 cards in here right now. I need to cut quite a few. Let's look for the most mediocre spells here. Stall Out, certainly just getting cycled more often than not. Pretty bad card in general. Surveyor and Mangler, I think, are our most filler creatures. Maybe Optimizer over Mangler. But I like all of our exhaust stuff going on here, and we can pay for all that. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exhaust creatures. 6 feels right on the cutoff point where Aetherhive might not be the most consistent card here. I'm gonna have to cut 8 cards, so I'm definitely putting it in the maybe pile at least. Yeah, 6 in the entire deck. If I draw it late and I've already, played a few of them, then this does barely anything. Yeah, I think Aetherhive's on the maybe pile. I don't love Hole Drifter, just in general. I like this deck at just playing to the board and having absolute beef here. We also have a lot of mana sinks actually sitting around with the exhaust cards and then just really high mana value creatures. I don't know I'm going to need a really late game card draw mana sink here like the Ether Siphon over just slamming the beef. So that's a potential cut. Silken Strength, just random combat tricks here. 8 cards is so much to cut. I'll put the Optimizer in the maybe cut pile as well. Then, because that's the only creature left, I think that's not pretty good. Yeah, I mean, every other creature in the deck is at least good filler at worst. Yeah, the worst creature left are the Skystreak Engineers. I'm not cutting those. Everything else is just straight up a great creature. You can main deck a Broken Wings in this format. I think this is the kind of card that's like, I'll main deck Broken Wings and I'll main deck the Trip Ups if I play without the white splash. So I think these 3 are going to be the direct swaps on if I splash white or don't splash white. Either I splash white for a Gallant Strike and a Ride's End, or I stick green-blue, and I just keep Broken Wings double Trip Up as our pieces of interaction there. I've got a single run over, a Possession Engine, a Broken Wings, and a couple tempo removal spells with 2 copies of Trip Up. If we're pure green-blue. So do I have 8 cards set to the side here? Because these are the ones that I'm just straight cutting, and then these are... I guess I need to cut 5 of these, and then one of these 3 card piles is what it's going to look like here. Let's go Hole Drifter, Stall Out. This looks like a pretty good Silken Strength deck, just loaded with green beef to use that combat trick on. We can try to leverage combat trick as interaction instead of full-on removal spells. So we'll run the double Silken Strength there. Still need to cut 3 more cards out of this pile. Creature count's at 15 right now. We also have a couple vehicles, one of which crews itself. So it's plenty of creatures here. Could definitely cut another 1 or 2. Let's cut... And I don't love the one-tuppus on Optimizer, but I think it just does work decently with some of our good exhaust abilities. And then we've got a good 5-drop artifact to maybe play early off it. I think I like that better than Midnight Mangler here, so we'll cut that. 2 more cuts before we pick between Splash White or Don't Splash White. Could be wrong, but I am massively partial to Ether Siphon, so I'm going to keep it in here anyway. We'll run the Ether Siphon over the Glitch Ghost and the Ether Hive, I think, with only 6 exhausters total. And you know what? I think I am going to splash the white here. I think Gallant Strike and Ride's End are better than double Trip Up Broken Wings by a wide enough margin. Plus, Starting Column is not bad in here, even when we don't need the white mana. Because we have 3 6-drops, a great 5-drops, and 4-drops. We have plenty of stuff that costs more than 3 that getting that Starting Column mana works pretty well. And of course the exhaust abilities get pretty expensive. The Engineers costing 5, the Hazard costing 7. So I don't mind a mana rock in this deck at all. Yeah, I like these 3. And splashing white here. Again, the Gallant Strike being able to cycle itself away when we don't hit white is quite lovely. Quite helpful for that. So we have 14 green cards, 6 blue, and 2 white, one of which can cycle itself away. So I'm going to go just 3 white sources and a starting column, so just 4 white sources total. And then pretty deep on the main colors. I think I'm adding another green here. I've got triple green, I got double greens here. I've only got 2 cards that need double blue, and both of these are somewhat late game plays. If I have an opportunity to cast basically any creature instead of Aether Siphon at any point earlier in the game, I'm always going to be casting the creature instead of that and impacting the board first. And time at like 5 mana where I'm like playing and drawing a card off the Siphon at the same time. So our double blue spells are all basically 5 drops or more. So we don't need to hit double blue that badly. We do need the first blue pretty early, ideally. But I don't think I need to go super deep on that color, and I would like to go super deep on green here for both quantity of green spells as well as quantity of double green and triple green restrictive mana costs. Yeah, I mean, this looks like a really reasonable deck here. I'm pretty happy with the sealed pool, and we'll see how far it can take us, how many gems we manage to convert these play-in points into as we hop into the gameplay. All right, here we are for game 1 on the draw. Pretty big gap in our mana curve here, but with all of our colors, I think we're still supposed to just keep this here. Get to drop a Scurryfoot pretty soon, and then exhaust that on 4. There's Greenbelt Guardian from our opponent. That is a problem. We did draw another 1-drop, so I get the double spell this turn. Work my way onto the board. Fang Guardian, once we have 4 mana, would be a way to block the Greenbelt Guardian, but so is just exhausting the Scurryfoot. Although this does turn itself into a 5/5, which is a pretty big problem for me. Can't really afford to double block here against 3 open mana. They could have Lightning Strike up at common, they could have Silken Strength up at common. There's too many things that just annihilate me for going for the block there. There's only 1 card that crushes me for attacking here, which is the Silken Strength to untap that Greenbelt Guardian. I still think it's bad enough if they have that I'm not going to attack here, and the fact that Arena's holding for them doesn't mean anything. It could mean Greenbelt Guardian's just trample ability, but the odds of them not having something here at 3 if they made that attack is pretty low, so I'm just going to play it safe here and not put anybody at risk to a Silken Strength. If we can survive for the long game, our hand is great in the long game, so I'm going to play towards that. Okay. Pretty happy with our life gain lands here, just completely counteracting the first Greenbelt Guardian swing, so that I'm at 15 after getting hit by a 5/5 here. Pretty fine. So now I can exhaust Scurryfoot and block Guardian with a 3/3 and a 2/2. And then if they combat trick or something, that's not bad. Ooh, they tap out pre-combat. We're really happy to see that. Now I don't have to worry about anything here. I just know we kill the Guardian with our block. And this is clearly better than casting our own Fang Guardian, because then we're losing Fang Guardian and Scurryfoot. It's a run over for us. Cannot kill the Alacrian Jaguar with that right now, so I believe I'm holding Fang Guardian for blocks. The problem is this is a Saddle 1 card, so if they play any creature, this is attacking as a 6/6, and Fang Guardian does not block and kill it anyway. So it may be better to pothole more towards our second blue here. Yeah, because I mean, like, what happens if they play a creature, saddle, and attack with a 6/6? I can block with Fang Guardian and a Merfolk, which is pretty bad. Losing both the creatures, or I can just like choose not to block at all, which is also pretty bad Fang Guardian without getting a block on the turn. I think I am on Pothole Mole here. It's too easy for just holding up to go wrong. Alright, well, still looking for that next blue source. Otark Mammoth. Alright, they tap out But those creatures can saddle up the Jaguar, so the Fang Guardian would have been a really bad play. The Mammoth is a big problem too, though. Every time that saddles and attacks, they get another creature onto the board, and they go super wide. And I can't run over it. Feeling real punished for being on the draw here, because I am very behind. If the Ketrodon were out already, we'd be okay-ish. But we are definitely not okay right now. Got no way to run over the Mammoth before it saddles here. Because, like, I can Fang Guardian, but I can't buff Fang Guardian itself. I can only run over with a 4-power Mole or a 3-power Merfolk. So I can main phase Fang Guardian, run over the Jaguar, so I'm not getting attacked by a 6/6 this turn. But then I'm letting the Mammoth get an attack off, and if they have removal, I don't get to double block and kill Mammoth, and that's pretty bad. Still feels like my best bet. I feel like running out just Ketrodon into removal is even worse. I mean, they are green-red, so the removal will be damage-based, so it'll be kind of hard for them to kill a 6/6. But if they have their own run-over, they could kill it with their 6/6 Jaguar if I don't kill that. I think I'm going for the run-over line here, and we're doing it during our turn because there's too many spells they could have to make it pretty bad during theirs. I guess it doesn't really matter if I buff Pothole Mole there, because I can still just run over with Fang Guardian. The important part is doing that while they're tapped out. Afterburner Expert, Walking Sarcophagus. One single card left in their hand. It has to be Silken Strength or Lightning Strike. Or we have a chance, if it is Silken Strength or Lightning Strike, they got us. Run over works too, but it's none of those. The chance is really low, with Afterburner Expert repeatedly coming back from grave and being too big to kill here with Ketrodon, but it's non-zero. Feel like we're just maybe a turn off from stable here, but we're not there. Because I can play this Ketrodon and be at 10, which means I could let the Afterburner Expert in so that I don't have to trade my Ketrodon off into it, because that's going to be a 6/4. Problem is I'm letting 6 in there, 3 in there, that's 9 damage. I have to Ketrodon block that and Merfolk block that. I don't get to draw a million. I don't think I have another line though, do I? I just have to give up on the draw bunch here. I guess 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I could trade Ketrodon into Afterburner Expert to leave Merfolk alive. But then, what good is that even going to do me? Right, like a bunch of cards in my hand, a tapped creature on board against a lethal on their board. I think I have to trade Mindspring Merfolk into a Sarcophagus here. It's just too slow. Again, like, on the play, I think we have exactly enough time to probably get this Merfolk off, but I can't trade Ketrodon there, not block with Merfolk, go to 2 life, and then try to Merfolk for a bunch at 2. Against 3 creatures. Yeah, it's do this, top deck a creature. Is the best out. Painful to lose the Merfolk like this. I just do not see another option. So they have something in their hand that costs more than 1. Or more than 2 or 3 or something. Oh, it only costs 4 to exhaust this. Okay, so some in hand that costs more than 4? That's really bad for me. Because I was going to say that the only thing that would get them to think that long on using Afterburn Expert or not would be if they have something in their hand that they won't be able to afford after exhausting it, which apparently they do. So they have something that costs 5 or 6 in hand. which is so bad for me. I'm gonna do this while they're tapped out. I mean, I can threaten to have some kind of trick, but if I do this before their draw step, they can't top deck a lightning strike. Well, yeah, they can. I'm at 1. If they top deck a lightning strike, they shoot my face. I still think, like, if I do this now, they can't respond to me exhausting it with something that they just drew. If there's some specific card I'm not thinking of, like a Road Rage or something weird. Alright, this is a rough forced trade here. Because that comes back from their grave over and over, which is what makes it a rare. Here's Hazard of the Dunes. I don't think I can afford to play around removal. Green-red, most of their removal can't kill Hazard or would kill me anyway. Right? They would just shoot my face. Runover doesn't kill it because it's got too high toughness. There's Tyrox from our opponents and a land. Fang Guardian is the draw. 7 mana to adapt Hazard of the Dunes. So this is going to be... Now I could play around removal, because Road Rage doesn't shoot my face. Road Rage does not shoot my face, but it would kill a Fang Guardian. So if I try to attack here and then they top deck like a Road Rage to shoot one of my creatures for 2, I die. Or if I try to attack here and they do draw like a run over, I could die. I guess no. If they draw run over, they attack both. I block with Hazard and block with Engineer. I don't know. I think there's enough things that will kill Fang Guardian here to skip an attack this turn. Beast Rider Vanguard. Incredible in this position. That is the mana sink and the card draw engine for the top deck war. We absolutely hate to see that. So they look at the top 3 and draw a creature every turn, yeah. Even if it's some random filler camera launcher, that's gonna kill us real quick. Need that life gain here. Stand a chance. Sitting at 5. I attack with Hazard, they don't block. I can block the Tyrox and the camera launcher, that's block the 4 there, block the 3 there, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I take exact lethal if I attack with Hazard and they just crack back. Yeah, I block a 3-3 and a 2-2. Or sorry, I block a 3-3 and a 4-1, and then I take damage from a 3-3 and a 2-2, which is 5 total. Yeah, I can't attack. Or they could just find onboard lethal. Pothole Mole, another creature off the top, definitely not a good card for us. Oh, it mills the Thrill Roller and the land, so they can discard the land to the Thrill Roller and lethal us here. The other part that's pretty gross about the Vanguard finding the launcher is if they did not find lethal this turn, exhausting the launcher brings back their big Afterburner Expert rare, and we're dead anyway. Alright, bummer, but I'm pretty sure we did everything we could this game, so it is what it is. Grinded out a lot of extra time here when we looked dead for several turns in a row. I think that's about as safe as we could have played it, but you can't win them all. We start off 0-1, heading into game 2. Here we are on the play for game number 2. I need to draw land here, but if I do, I get to cast a Pothole Mole that helps me try to find the blue source, then gets me to casting the majority of the hand. I don't need to Siphon mana till super late. Certainly a gamble trying to hit that one first land draw, but if we get there, we have a really solid hand coming up. And there it is. Playing against a blue-red deck. They start with Hazoret Godseeker. So at least Hazoret doesn't do anything by herself. But if they get to max speed, we've got a 5/3 indestructible threat to worry about. And she can make things unblockable, but not the most impressive ability ever. Ooh, mill 2 of our very few removal spells off the Pothole Mole. What a traitor. Working on Hazoret's team, are you, Pothole Mole? We do draw blue source, though, which is still pretty good. Alright, Swashbuckler, too big for the Pothole Mole to block without dying, so they make it up to speed number 2. They are working their way up here. Play Optimizer, hold up Silken Strength, and then I also get to play Tarion next turn because I've got another untapped land. Sure. A little risky to try to Silken Strength here against open mana in blue-red, but I don't think I have much of a choice because them making it to max speed is really bad for me. So I might get 2 for 1 by a Lightning Strike here, or a Bounce Off or something. But I need to do everything in my power to keep this Hazoret off of becoming a creature. And if I can survive long enough, I can make up for 2 for owning myself early with Ether Siphons. Card draw. Luckily enough, no really bad card for me like Lightning Strike or Bounce Off, but there could still be something that wins the combat at the very least. Pedal to the metal? Sure. Okay, technically 2 for 1 myself with that, but they don't get to raise their speed, which is pretty solid. And now I get to just drop the biggest boy to keep the Swashbuckler off us. They're blue-red, so they should have some difficulty blowing up Tarion. There's one common in the color pair that can do it, and it's the enchantment that keeps it tapped. But if they don't have exactly that, they need something at uncommon or rare. I mean, they could have, like, Bounce Off. They can put it back in her hand, put it on top of her deck, any kind of stuff like that. But when it comes to permanently dealing with it... Oof, the Spike Shell Harrier. Yeah, incredible curve out from our opponent. Hazoret, Swashbuckler. Trick plus removal, Spike Shell Harrier it is. Speed 3 out of 4. The Hazoret ticking time bomb continues to tick down. Yeah, I mean, they are guaranteed max speed next turn. We just recast a Tarion so I can at least eat one of their creatures when they get there. Hole Drifter, draw 2. Oh, Swashbuckler gives the Hole Drifter haste. What a combo there. Yep. Incredible synergy for a sealed deck there. Just lining up the Swashbuckler and the Hole Drifter together to lock in max speed without even having to lose a creature. This run might end really fast. Unfortunately, these Qualifier Play-In Events are 2 losses and you're out. You only have 1 single loss to give, so that's really all it takes to get kicked out of the event here. I don't think we did anything wrong in deck building or gameplay, really. That's just how the cookie crumbles for us. But that said, because it's 2 losses and you're out, I am going to try to focus up as much as I can here for any minor chance at winning. It's incredibly low with Hazoret active now. I think I have to hold up a 9-7 and a 5-5 right now. I think I need to exhaust this first. I should probably actually just exhaust it during our turn again. To keep it safe from Lightning Strike from our opponent. If I try to exhaust it during their turn, they've got a red 1-up, they blow it up in response. Slick Imitator at max speed, that's very threatening. They get to copy their next spell no matter what it is. Double Bounce Off is lethal, baby. That is 0-2, and we are out of this Qualifier Play-In incredibly quickly. I think we built a pretty great deck, played as well as we could, but not our event to win this time around. I mean, I'm still losing this game, but they're hitting for 11 instead of 12 now. They just also have Lightning Strike. Sure. That works too. 0-2 for the qualifier play-in. Pretty big bummer here, but as I said before, I don't think there's anything we can really be too mad about in terms of how we built this deck or played the games. I don't think there was much under our control in terms of having a shot at winning those first 2 rounds there. Deck looks great. I think we played it out pretty tight. No real misplays anywhere. Just can't win them all. That's Magic for you. 0-2 and just 500 gems, which is still something here. That's still a little more useful than 20 play-in points. We can use that towards a Tarkir Dragon Storm draft. So we're not completely empty-handed, even if we are completely defeated in the event. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.